This one is unique successes and challenges when working with community colleges. I am very excited to have Lorraine from Columbia College and Naomi from Clovis Community College with us today to discuss their experiences in their work.
Okay. Hi, everybody, and thanks again for inviting me here. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I have a PowerPoint. Here we go. And I'll set that. I am not a multitasker. So Alex, if you see questions in the chat or anything, just interrupt me because I can only do one thing at a time. So once again, I'm the Health Services Coordinator at Clovis Community College, which is in Fresno, California. We're a new college. We became a college in 2015. So we're going through massive growing changes and lots of different changes. Before COVID, we were running around 12,000 students. We went 100% online for the most part back in March of last year. And we became a smoke-free campus in May of last year. So we actually went online 2 months before we became a smoke-free campus. So that in itself is a different challenge. I wanted to put a disclaimer here that we are a work in process with our smoke-free campus situation. There's a lot of things I haven't done yet that need to be done. I feel so far behind, but I do have something I can share that I think has been worthwhile if it works for others as it has for us. And when you talk about challenges of the California Community College system, I think that the previous speakers have went through all of them. It's a much more complex system because of all the leadership is, on each campus basically, or district for the most part. Hard to work through things. But the biggest challenge, especially from my perspective as a health services coordinator, is we don't have any money, we don't have any staff, and we have very little resources. It's basically what we're dealing with. When we talk about a campus of 12,000, basically I'm the one nurse on campus. And so I'm kind of like a working manager. I see students, but I'm also on all the committees and work groups and COVID work groups. And it's really a major ton of time that it takes up. So when we're talking about challenges, we have plenty in the community college system. And the things that I found most helpful in working toward a smoke-free campus is purpose, persistence, and patience. And over the years, we're talking at least 5 years, we've been working on this, and we just became a smoke-free a couple months ago, last semester. So purpose is what I found most helpful, is instead of saying we're trying to be a smoke-free campus, I say we're trying to build a healthier community. So the purpose is not to get a smoke-free campus. The purpose is to stop tobacco and vape use in our younger population. And so anytime we get a lot of arguments about the smoke-free campus, I go back to the purpose. We're trying to keep young people from starting, right? That's the goal. And then I can share the research that CYAN has given us. And even the smokers don't argue with that. Does that make sense? So purpose is really important. So in one, we need to engage and educate student leaders, which has been spoken about, but several years ago, our student government wanted smoking sections, and they were totally against a smoke-free campus. And all I did with the persistence is just in meetings everywhere that it was mentioned, just say, the studies show smoke areas do not cut people from starting. They do not help students from not starting cigarettes or vapes. So I just kept doing that, and that's the persistence. What you're going to find is you don't have time to spend 100% of your time working on this all the time, but in meetings you can plant some seeds, and over time people start listening. And in different committees, there's always some people from the councils, the what do you call it? Shared governance councils. They're all in different meetings, and the students on those councils are too. So over time, it actually increases knowledge, which increases the openness to going smoke-free. And what we found is a year after the students were very adamant against smoke-free campus, The next student government, we went in and spoke with the ASG and shared information because they wanted to hear first. And then they actually did a resolution to go smoke free, our student government, which was really cool. And so the next step we did was we engaged our smokers. We put signs up in our smoking area to say, hey, free pizza, we want your input. And we actually had like 10 student smokers attend, and that's good for us because we're a new campus. We don't have a student union or a gym or even anywhere students can congregate. So they usually come to school and leave. So it was good that we had 10 students. And the main important thing when working with the smokers, totally non-judgmental, which is easy for a nurse because that's what we do. Talking to them, no, we're not trying to make you quit. Some people don't want to quit. We're not pushing you to quit, but we are asking you how we can make it more comfortable for you while you're not smoking on campus. And so we go through that. Okay, so engage the smokers early. Don't hit them at the end like, boom, it's a smoke-free campus, good luck kind of thing. So we did that with the student smokers as well as our staff. Big part is learn from your peers. I'm going to show you something we learned, and Laureen was actually a big inspiration for this. It wouldn't have happened without her, as well as Naomi Kitajima, who did a lot of work focusing our professional organization of California Community College Health Services on the non-smoking campus, and Beth Hoffman from Santiago Canyon. So you get little ideas from all your peers, and it makes all the difference in the world. You could come up with some great ideas. And take advantage of grants and free resources. And CYAN has a lot of free resources. And the grants, I can tell you right now, I'm a procrastinator. If I wasn't forced to make sure to do things because it had to meet a grant requirement, it probably would have taken a lot longer. Slogan and signage is very important. And what we found is I tried to make sure that our smoke-free campus aligned with some of the main priorities of our campus. And health and wellness was one for sure. And the other for us was it's about health, social justice. So I aligned our smoke-free campus with those two issues. And we had a student. So our slogan is, it's about health, it's about social justice. And we had a student develop this logo for us, and we kind of went along that line. So that has been very helpful, keeps me focused. So now I'm going to tell you my success story. Because of Laureen, I actually took an online Canvas course for faculty. So I learned how to do a Canvas course. I didn't know I was going to use it for this, but then because of Beth Hoffman, she sent a link to a really excellent presentation on vaping by a physician researcher at UC San Diego. And then because of COVID, we didn't want to do a Zoom event because we found them very poorly attended when they weren't required. I mean, we would get like 5 people at a Zoom event. I decided to try a mini course on Canvas. And so that's what I did. And the first thing the students see is, welcome to this mini course. We're a smoke-free campus. Why? This course may help to explain one of the reasons, and it's about health. So this past semester, I was focused on it's about health. This semester, I'm focused, it's about social justice, but that's another story. So this course, students are stressed. I didn't want to make anything that caused them more stress. This is not focused for academic rigor. It is actually incredibly easy. And my whole purpose was to try to dispel some of the major myths that young people believe about vaping. So basically, the objectives were to describe ingredients, one early health-related finding, and then a mechanism for secondhand exposure. Okay, and so I put a background information like good Canvas course should have. Detrimental effects of cigarettes and secondhand smoke is widely known, da 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 da. E-cigarettes are newer, not as well regulated, not as well researched as conventional cigarettes. Long-term health effects of vaping are not yet known. This course reviews some of the early research findings. And what I try to do is just focus on fact, which is what physician researchers do, right? Oh, yeah, my goal was to dispel myths. So once again, this is the basics. They're going to watch 4 video segments, the longest of which is 3 minutes. So I didn't take the whole hour research presentation. I took little segments, and it says you'll be watching segments of this presentation by Dr. Laura Crotty Alexander, who's been studying e-cigarettes and vaping at San Diego. It was designed for healthcare professionals, so medical terminology is used throughout. You will be viewing some of the less technical segments of the presentation. And I put it that way as kind of like a little challenge. Do you think you'll be able to understand this presentation? Because it's a medical presentation. And because I had that, I actually marketed, well, I was going to talk about that later, to our health and science faculty, and they loved it because her presentation contains, and I told them this, it contains anatomy, physiology, and pathophysiology, and even a little microbiology. So I kind of marketed it that way. The quizzes are true, false, 1 or 2 true, false questions. It's like nothing. There is an evaluation, and I got a lot of evaluation back, and they got a little form for extra credit. Okay. So this is a little picture of what one of my pages looks like. And you can see I kept it so short. They don't have to read a lot. E-liquids are solutions used in pod devices. They're vaporized, yada, yada. You're going to see a 2-minute segment, and all they do is press the button and they hear that 2-minute segment. And then they go to a true false question. And so I was hoping, you know, that I at least get 20 people to do it. And I can tell you, oh yeah, whatever. I can tell you, I had 228 students take this course between November 6th and basically December 10th. But I had some people take it over winter break. But for my grant, I had to end at December 31st. That was 10 times more than I had actually even hoped for, to be honest with you. And the feedback from the students was really, really high. They loved it. I had a handful criticizing it wasn't hard enough. The questions weren't hard enough. They wanted harder questions. And it was very interesting, but 223 said that they would recommend the course to others. And a couple of them said everybody should watch this course. Because if we had a grant, we offered free t-shirts and prize drawings. But you know, the first 200 who took the course could get a free t-shirt, but we only had 7 show up for a drive-by get your t-shirt. They did it because of the extra credit. So that's another thing I want to tell you. If you don't have any money, you don't need money. You need extra credit to get people to attend your events. So the next project is, it's about social justice. And what I wanted to do is, I'll share in the chat the link if you want to check out the course. It's on Canvas Commons, so you could find it by searching for Clovis Community College and vaping. But I also have a link you can use in the browser that I'll put in the chat. And that's it. Did I do okay?
Yes, thank you so much,
good.
Naomi. You did
How am I?
really
Oh, good.
fantastic.
10 minutes.
Yeah, you were right on point.
Oh, good.
So I'll go ahead and pass it on to Lorraine so that you can share a little of your information as well.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
You sound great.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here, and it's great to hear what wonderful things my colleague Naomi Forey has done. She is tireless, she is advocate, and she is creative, and I'm just really thrilled to see what she's done there. I'm going to tell you more of a story. I am from Columbia College. It's one of the smallest colleges in the 114 California Community College system. I want to just show you a picture of our college, just so you get an idea of where we are, because an important part of what one of our challenges are those beautiful forested background that we're in. And it has created a significant challenge. I've been the coordinator of health services at Columbia, public health nurse like Naomi, for about 20 years, and started the process of looking at smoking on campus. When I first came, there were no regulations. It was only 20 feet from campus entrances. We did then convert it to designated smoking areas, which we had then created fewer of them, and started really working with partnerships. Because when you're small and when you have few resources, as Naomi and it sounds like other speakers have talked about in the California Community College system, you have to get creative with partnerships. And we had partnerships both within the college, within the community, and regionally. And we started within the college by creating through the shared governance, representing all of our constituents. I'll stop sharing, you get an idea of what the campus looks like, although that might be a better picture. But we had constituency groups start working toward the designated smoking areas, including facilities, students, the students' government, classified, faculty, and leadership. And what I will say is I will echo wholeheartedly Naomi's first slide of purpose, persistence, and patience, and knowing that sometimes this is an uneven trajectory up. We have had lots of fits and starts over the years, depending on the support that we've gotten. So currently we are designated smoking areas. That's where we ended when COVID hit, but we have done a lot of work over the years, and the partnerships that we have created are the ones on campus and the ones in the community. We partner with our public health department. I was served on their smoking cessation task force for years. They have helped us over the years with bringing smoke-free campus policy language when we were able to bring that forward. They helped us with the Great American Smokeout. They helped with training. They put me through, I don't know if you're all familiar with this, but I'll just show you. This is the Rocky Mountain, if it's backwards, Rocky Mountain Tobacco Treatment Specialist Training Program. It's quite extensive and quite amazing. So I'm a treatment specialist through that. They were able to help with that. And through the Truth Initiative grant, which we were able to get also, we had more training on smoking cessation on campus. We were able to buy quit kits. And like Naomi said, we pulled in also, very importantly, our student government. And that was both helpful and at times not helpful. And I'll tell you that on the challenging part. Let's see, just want to review that we also had through our public health department training through the tobacco cessation program, the California Helpline. We had Gary Tedeschi come, and I was able to be part of that group that came from the public health department. The Truth Initiative brought us some funds that we could do promotion on campus and again, reach deeper into the policy making area of the college. We were able to present to leadership. CYAN came to our campus to help us present to leadership and create the policy language, which we pushed all the way up to our board. We have a 2-college system, so we have a overarching board of trustees that covers both colleges. Modesto Junior College is our partner, a much larger school that is in an urban area that has a little easier possibility to create a smoke-free campus for people stepping outside the campus to smoke. And like Naomi said, one of the important parts for us when we partnered with our associated student body was no shaming. This is not about, this is about education, this is about health, and this is not about forced quitting. And that was something we really had to make sure our students understood. And like Naomi said, what we were doing, we wanted to tell them we want to make it easy for you to be smoke-free while you're on campus, but we aren't demanding that you quit smoking, but we have lots of tricks and tools. And one of the things that I bring in is I'm an integrative medicine specialist also and an herbalist. And so they really like some of the natural remedies that I bring in to help them quit smoking. And I've had a lot of success with that. The other thing, let's see, through the Truth Initiative, we were able to create surveys and get more information that we could tell our students about and our faculty and administrators. But and one other group that was an amazing partnership was the Small Town Alliance Against Nicotine Dependence, STAND. So they were a regional group that was focused on some rural counties in central California. We were able to embed their staff right into our health center once a week. They would come in and they offered 4 internships for our students right through the Associated Student Government. And so that was also a real key help in just keeping the pressure on, the focus on this topic. And what I learned and what we all learned over the course of these several years working on this is the student voice needs to be in the lead position, particularly when moving up into policy. The students need to lead and tell that they want that. And with this survey we had, that is the information that we received. The students did want overwhelmingly a smoke-free campus. So we had significant challenges, and I want to talk about that in these last few minutes. The first challenge came from our students. When I received the Truth Initiative, we had several students who were smoking, who were in the smoking and vaping, were part of student government, and they heard about the grant, and one came in and asked about it as I didn't realize, but as a student, a class project. She said, could I take a look at this? And it turns out they brought the grant language back to the student government and created an opposition marketing plan against what we were doing. And so because they felt they didn't see they felt kind of threatened and felt like it might be a shaming program. So I was able to work with them. I know them well. Our buildings are right next to each other. I go to their meetings every week. So it was a surprise, but a challenge that we were able to overcome. We were able to kind of bring them around and have them understand what the issue was. It was health, it was social justice. It's a big piece that we bring in, and it was not about forced quitting. So that took time. That took about a half a year or more. The second opposition that we felt was in our faculty. When we brought the presentations to each constituent, we brought them to the faculty senate, and we had a couple of rather strong voices that considered this a rights issue, that not being able to smoke on campus was an infringement on basic rights. And they actually skewed our survey when they found the survey was going, one of the instructors gave extra credit for students to write long essays into the survey on opposition of smoking. So we all of a sudden got this burst of responses that we knew were aberrant. And so we had to work on that. But that was a challenge, and that was a setback. So that was something that I think is still a little iffy for our school. One of the main issues for Columbia College is that beautiful wooded setting. People are terrified of fire. They're terrified that our buildings will be burned down if we push combustible tobacco off campus. There's the fear that it will go into the woods and cause a fire. So one of the things that we did with the Truth Initiative was partner with our fire academy, but we never really were able to make inroads into allaying that fear up to the top of our administration. So that one we are still working on, and it is a very, very real and deep concern in our area. The other concern that comes from our administration is, because we were rural, we're several miles out of town, there's nowhere to step off campus except to be into the woods, is how do we allow staff to take a smoking break without them having to get in their car, drive off campus, have a cigarette, drive back on. So whether, without telling them that they need to go smoke in an enclosed car, and what does that say about our concern about the health of our staff? So that's also an issue that we're still working on. It also hasn't been resolved. One of the things that we were getting traction with when we COVID closed the campus in last March was a joint tobacco cessation task force between the two colleges. Our sister college is larger. They had a lot more momentum going with their faculty involvement going up to the administrative level. And so we combined our task force and said, we want to do this together. We want to bring this policy to the Board of Trustees, and each college then can talk about how they can implement on their campus, but we wanted to at least get the language into board policy. So that's where we left it, and COVID did definitely slow the momentum for our forward movement, but that's where we're at, and I still have hope that when we get back and get together, that we can move forward. And one last thing before I tie up our piece is to share resources. When I see this beautiful thing that Naomi has put together, when, we're a small college, I know within the community college system, we do a lot of resource sharing. So you don't need to recreate the wheel with a lot of these programs and ideas. Just look around and look to sharing. One other piece that I want to talk about that I'm sure has been talked about is the community college is oddly sandwiched between K-12s, which are smoke-free, and CSUs and UCs, which are smoke-free, which are in the public um, education, higher ed in California. And so it helps put the pressure on, but someone maybe has already said that we did have a bill that passed to make all California community colleges smoke-free that was vetoed when the last year that Governor Brown was in. So there's still also state momentum that we need to continue working with as well. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you again for inviting me and having this topic.
Yeah, thank you both so much. And I greatly appreciate everything that you both have brought up, and the importance of the work that you both have been doing, the challenges you've faced, the successes you've had. And I do want to open up the floor for everyone who is interested in asking some questions. We have about 20 minutes or so to be able to actually have a full-fledged conversation with all of you. And this is a really good time to bring up some ideas of maybe some successes or challenges that you've had. You can share them in the chat. You can unmute yourself if you'd like and ask some questions. While everyone's thinking of some questions, I had a couple written down just to start off. And my first one actually was for Naomi. And you mentioned that you did basically the pizza and interview with the student smokers. And I was just wondering what some of the most impactful things you heard from them were. So what are some of the things that they wanted for the campus?
They really didn't want a smoke-free campus. Some of the things that touched me the most is how much hate they feel from people that pass by sometimes. I'm getting all emotional. It's like they were picked on, and I felt really bad about it. And what's interesting is they're some of the most wonderful people. The smokers are the ones you want to hang out with. And they went again and again back to the fact that it's a social system for them. And one thing I wanted to share that I just learned from the previous speakers that I hadn't thought about was they don't realize that that system actually increases smokers, because they all agree, most of them agree that they wish they had never started. And most would not recommend smoking to young people. But what I just realized from the previous talk is just having that closeness where they're sharing because they're smokers and they get together more consistently than other students and they have a nice network there, which is a wonderful thing, is actually not so wonderful because it actually increases the chance that somebody will start. So that's one thing that I'm gonna use. But they all pretty much felt that no, they don't think young people should start smoking. And I don't know, they're just a fabulous group. We had a couple that were gung-ho on being on our task force before COVID to help us roll it out and things of that nature. But it did take a while before they realized, no, they can't get a task force to try to fight this. It's kind of a done deal. Do you know what I mean? And they did need to realize that to move forward. And so that was kind of hard for some. And not all of them really went for it, but we got some very, people that stood up and spoke and was willing to share a lot on our side, which was pretty good. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's amazing. That was really good information. And it does also touch base a little on some of the things that I've heard from in the field of the students that do smoke. They do have this community amongst them. And it is something of the most common thing we hear across the board is that feeling of ostracized. I can never say that word lately. Feeling ostracized. And it is so important that we have that emphasis of how to make sure that those students don't feel like they're getting left out or being isolated. So yeah, I'm very glad that like that is something that something novel that I hadn't really heard a lot of campuses doing, of specifically setting up those meeting times with students who smoke, and making sure that you listen to them and you hear from them. And I am going to be continuing to recommend that across the board for anyone I speak to. So thank you for sharing that. I want to open the floor in case anyone else had some questions. I have other ones written down, but I don't want to be the only one asking questions today. So does anyone in the room have some ideas of some things you'd like to discuss or ask? I'll do that teacher trick of letting it be quiet
Hi,
for a second.
Lorraine. It's Katie. I'm working with Lorraine at Columbia with our grant, trying to get their campus to go to adopt a policy. And the thing you talked about like the students needing to lead the effort and be the face of it. But then I'm thinking, well, but they have been, and they've been supportive, and they should go to the meetings, but the policy still isn't changing. So I'm almost like, maybe it's not really the students, maybe we just need to get to some certain high power, high level, like faculty person, or I mean, the president is against us. It's like, what is going to get him to change his mind? I'm not convinced that it's the students, honestly, that if the students, like if the Associated Students said they wanted a smoke-free campus, I'm not convinced that he would then say, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So, I'm frustrated. I can't imagine how frustrated you must be at your work on trying to get this to happen for like 10 years. But it's just like, I wish I knew what the magic thing was to do, how to move it forward.
And I just have to thank you, Katie, for all your parallel work with us. It's just been fantastic, but we are definitely a tough nut to crack. And I'm not sure either. I think that working at a higher level with the two colleges working together, that might be put a different kind of pressure on the situation. But again, I just can't emphasize enough the fire scare in our area. That seems to be something that we really have to allay those fears. And Katie has found that there are other campus policies throughout the state that have smoking cessation as part of their fire safety plan, but we again haven't got the traction at our school yet.
And thank you for that, Katie. Actually, it also ties into a question I was having of what other champions, Lorraine, you've kind of been reaching out to, of like on top of like having the students, of like who's been those core folks for you, like what departments and such that like or staff or faculty, or like who has been those successes of like in your corner so far?
Right. Well, I mentioned the community partners is obviously public health, and then our STAND and CYAN. But on campus, it fluctuates over the years. But the athletic department has generally been, and the coaches and have been on our side with the health issue, and also the allied health faculty have been on our side, which has been helpful. I was sad that they weren't there to speak up when we had the opposition in the faculty senate. I was hoping that their voices would come up, but there's layers sometimes of relationships that I don't understand, and what's happening around us. But those have been, and I will say the Associated Students have consistently been supportive. Admin changes has changed quite a bit, and there's occasionally we try and find a couple people in there that are supportive, but it's hard for them sometimes to stand up when the leader, the president, is not strongly supportive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's always frustrating, and I know I hear that from other campuses too. Of when admin changes, there's always that uncertainty of like what's going to happen, how are they going to work with us, and it's basically feeling that like that feeling of having to restart from scratch almost.
Exactly. And you have to kind of re-educate, re-bring up the survey, re-bring, it's you kind of start further back again, but you just keep going. And it's
Yeah.
definitely the tortoise model.
Yeah, and again, thank you for all the hard work you have been doing. We had we have a second question or another question that came up in the comments, which can be for either of you, whoever would like to answer this. Vicky mentions we have a smoke-free policy on campus, but no other formal programs. We provide information and occasional seminars. Where do you think is a good place to start if we want to create a more formal program?
Naomi, you're a smoke-free campus.
Yeah, if you're talking about a formal program for cessation or a formal program for implementing your smoke-free campus, I was wondering, are both?
Well, I should unmute myself. It's totally up to me what we do. They just came to me and said, we have money, which is incredible. But because of COVID, we haven't done anything. And prior to that, they started thinking about it. And right now we're referring to no buts, but basically it's like carte blanche. And I'm going, okay, well, do I just develop an awareness program? Like my purpose is to increase awareness and maybe a desire to change. I have some ideas, but I don't want to bias your thinking that, of what you might suggest. But like we have a lot of nurses, it's a very large student health center. And so we have a lot of providers and everybody's for this, but nothing really exists.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing we've done, you seem to have a lot more resources than we do. So you can do this to a much more extensive degree. But Smoke-Free Campus bothers the smokers the most. It's the smokers and vapors that you want to focus on with your money because we want to make them comfortable on campus. So never are we saying you should quit, you should quit, you should quit, you should quit, because they would just shut down with that. But what we say is we want to support you. We understand this is a hardship for you. We want to help make you successful and more comfortable while you're on campus following this policy. And one of the things I learned at one of the CYAN conferences there in Sacramento, some of the hospitals offer nicotine replacement for visitors, just so they're comfortable during their visit through the hospital. And that is standard practice. So that's something that I've done. I've worked with our physician. He approved nicotine replacement products that we can give out on campus. If I had more money, I would buy more of that. Then we have psychological services and we work with them. They were very happy to do smoking cessation therapy, but I said, will you do therapy for people that are just trying to find ways to cut back while they're on campus? And they agreed to that too. So we can say, whether you want to quit or you just want some techniques to learn to help you be more comfortable while you're on campus, we have psychological services that will help you with that. And then the others, that's the most. And our physician wanted us to give samples of nicotine replacement, but only provide that on an ongoing basis to people that are in cessation therapy. So we're not, somebody's not coming in every day and we're getting them nicotine replacement. We're giving it to them so they could try it for free, see how it works, try lots of different things, the lozenges or the gum or something like that. And then if that works, it's cheaper than the cigarettes for most of them. They can buy that themselves. But if they want to try smoking cessation, then we're going to continue giving them those while they're in therapy for that. So that's some of the things we're doing. And we're using all the free online resources that CYAN also gives smokers. And we're going to promote the fact that, and what I learned at the last CYAN conference in person that I went to is even if they stop smoking even if they cut back one day, that is a success. And they need to understand that even just cutting back on how much you smoke during one day is a success. And that, you know, you need to celebrate that success and just try to repeat that more often. And that many, many attempts for most to quit if that's their desire. But even learning to cut back is a skill that's going to help you in the future, because most employers aren't going to let you smoke on their premises. And that's how life is right now. So these are skills that are going to help them in the future. It's a benefit to learn these now.
Thank you. We ironically, we cannot use our money to pay for prescriptions. Although we do give out prescriptions, that's like one restricted area, but getting free samples might be the way to go to help them if I can do that.
And so we couldn't use any of our funds on nicotine replacement either. So sometimes if it's within therapy, you can use mental health funds because it's part of the mental health therapy if it's ongoing. And then what we did was we used our money for the quit kits. We couldn't use it for nicotine replacement, but we have some pretty awesome quit kits we put together.
Okay.
And if you're looking for some materials for quit kits, CYN can also provide some supplies for that as well. And we provide things such as honey sticks and mints and things like that. So, and those are no cost to you as well. So we can get those sent out to you. Just shoot one of us an email and we can help get you taken care of. We have a lot of extra supplies left over, particularly this year because of COVID hitting right around the time we did all of our ordering for the smoke out and everything. So we have plenty of supplies we can provide you if you are interested, and that goes for everybody. All right, so I noticed that we're right at the end of our time. We have about a minute left. And I just want to say again, thank you so much to our wonderful speakers. You both are amazing and do awesome work and have so many good things to provide to everyone in the field. Thank you for everyone who is here, just because of the fact I really love hearing from all of y'all. Y'all are the ones doing all of this hard work.